Hello, I'm Kyle. I'm the technical content developer at Maple Systems. Welcome to the Maple Systems video training series. In this video, I'm going to cover Modbus RTU and TCP configuration between a Maple PLC and a CMT 3102X HMI, the PLC as the slave and the HMI as the master device. I'll be configuring the PLC in MapleLogic and the CMT device in EBPro software, but you could connect to any device that has Modbus capabilities. First, I will be covering Modbus RTU configuration. Here is a diagram for connecting a PLC ES1616P Maple Modular PLC to a CMT 3102X HMI via Modbus RTU Communication. Please keep in mind that you can also use any of the three Maple Micro PLCs. So you would connect the TX wire on the PLC to the TX wire on the HMI, connect the RX wire on the PLC to the RX wire on the HMI, and the ground wire on the PLC to the ground wire on the HMI. To get more information on serial connection wiring with one of our Maple PLCs and a CMT device, you can always visit the Maple Systems website or contact our complimentary technical support. This diagram can also be found on the How to Connect Your Maple PLC and Maple HMI using Modbus RTU and TCP Communications tutorial page on the Maple Systems website. I want to go over how you will set up Modbus Communication, so we'll go to Parameter, double click, and then PLC parameter, and we're using channel 1 RS232 serial connection. So we'll go to channel 1 here, and here is your communication parameters, and these are the default settings in MapleLogic: 9600 for a baud rate, even for parity, 8-bit for data bit, and 1-bit for stop bit. So this is all you'll need to do here in MapleLogic. Now let's go over to EBPro. I want to show you how you would add a Modbus RTU master device in EBPro. So go to System Parameters. So here is the Modbus RTU master device. You would simply just go to New Device. Then in the list here, scroll down to Modbus, and you would just select Modbus, the RTU master device here, and then select RS232. Now keep in mind, RS232, we're actually going to be using COM3 here. Cannot use COM1. We're going to use COM3 9600. This has to match the settings in MapleLogic, and as well make sure the station number matches. So this is station number 1, and then once it's set up, you can hit OK. Okay, this covers the Modbus RTU configuration between the slave and master device. Next, I'm going to cover Modbus TCP configuration, and here is a network configuration for Modbus TCP communication. The PLC is the TCP slave device, the CMT is the TCP master device, and here is your PC. All three devices are going into an Ethernet switch, and they all have different IP addresses, but are using the same subnet, but the last octet is different. So that subnet is 255, and the last octet for the CMT is 33, the PLC is 35, and the PC is 100. You can also view this diagram on the How to Connect Your Maple PLC and Maple HMI using Modbus RTU and TCP Communications tutorial page on the Maple Systems website. Okay, now I'm back on MapleLogic. I'm going to show you the configuration for setting up a Modbus TCP slave device. So the PLC will be the slave device. Go to PLC parameter, double click, Ethernet, and here is where you enter the IP address for the slave device. So the slave device is the PLC, so you'll enter 192.168.255.35 and make sure the subnet mask and gateway is the same as the master device, and they're on the same subnet, which is 255, but the last octet must be different. Once you do that, you'll just hit OK. And so here is your master device. So this is the IP address for the CMT 3102X. So as you can see, like I just mentioned, it's on the same subnet, 255, but that last octet is different. It's 33, and that's all you need to do here to set up the Modbus TCP slave. Now let's go to EBPro. Okay, now let's configure your master device in EBPro. Go up to System Parameters. I already have it configured here, but I just want to show you how I set this up. Go to New Device, go to Device Type, down to Modbus TCP IP Master, click here, then select Ethernet and go to Settings, and here is where you type your Modbus slave IP address, so it'll be the same IP address you entered in MapleLogic, so 192.168.255.35, then hit OK. And so here is the master device. This is the IP address for this CMT device. So to access this, you will need to click the System Settings button at the top left of your CMT device, which brings you to this screen. If you click Information, you'll be able to see your IP address. To change your IP address, you'll need to click this button here and then enter your system password, which by default is 6 ones, and then you'll be able to change your network settings and you'll be able to change your IP address. Before I show you the Modbus addressing, I want to go over this table at the top. So for Modbus addressing, you have 0x, 1x, 3x, and 4x. And 0x is a read and write. It's used for outputs or coils. So it's usually used for digital output channels. 1x is just a read input, typically used just for digital input channels. 3x is to read input registers. That's typically used for reading internal input registers, so example, an analog signal. And then 4x is a read and write output, and it's also used for holding registers. So that's used for typically numerical data, binary or decimal, to send data from the CPU to an output channel. Okay, let's go over our Modbus addressing for our digital input, digital output, analog input, and analog output. So first we have a toggle switch here for our digital input. So that's going to be assigned to 1x001, and it's 01 because we start our addressing at 1, and it's 1x because it is a read only. And x00 is the PLC address, and then our Modbus address is going to be 1x001. And then for the digital output, here's our bitlet for digital output. That's going to be 0x because that is a read and write address. So it's our output coil, which is Y10 on the PLC, and then 0x017. Now it's 17 because in MapleLogic for one word, it's 0 through 9, then A through F, it's hexadecimal format. And so if you look at the second word where Y10 is in your memory registers, if you look at Y10 on your memory monitor, you'll see that it's number 17, so that's why our Modbus address is 0x017. And then our analog input are going to be 4x addresses. This is because it's a numerical number. So the first one, because you start at 1, it's going to be 4x01, and that's going to be stored in D00 in our PLC. The next one's going to be 4x03, and we're storing it in D02. And then our analog output is going to be stored in D04, and it's going to be 4x005. And now I'm back at MapleLogic. Before I go online, I want to go over our ladder diagram here. So here is our digital input, digital output, analog input, and then our analog output. Now for digital input, it's x00, and once digital input gets turned on, it will turn on a 3-second timer, which will count up, and when it hits 3 seconds, it will turn on digital output. And then here is our analog input, and you'll see raw registers here, and then over here you'll be able to enter your analog output value. Okay, now I'm online and you're looking at CMT viewer. So this is the CMT device, the master device, and here's MapleLogic, which is our slave device. I'm going to turn on my digital input, which will start a timer to 3 seconds, and then that will turn on the digital output when it hits 3 seconds. Digital input is on, and after 3 seconds, it turned the output on, so that's working for our slave device and master device. You can see the voltage for the analog input. It's at 8,000 current, which is 5 volts. So let's just look at our analog input here. And you can see it's reading 5 volts here for analog input, and it's reading 8,000 current here, which is what it's saying here. So 8,000 is about 5 volts. If I change this to 8 volts, it reads 12,000 current as well. Same results over here. And now for the analog output, enter a value, let's just say 2000, hit enter again. You can see it here in CMT viewer for our master device as well in MapleLogic. So this will conclude the Modbus communication via RTU and TCP with a Maple PLC and a Maple HMI. To get more information, you can visit the How to Connect Your Maple PLC and Maple HMI using Modbus RTU and TCP Communications tutorial page on the Maple Systems website. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.